Hi there, I'm Dr. Joshua and you're welcome. Last week we were looking at the question, is Christianity the only way to God? And we did say that in order to find out if Christianity is the only way to God, we have to find out if God exists. And I said that we're going to assume that God existed, and I said that I was going to give some arguments, some layers of evidence to show you that it is rational, it is logical to believe in the existence of a God and to believe that Christianity is the only way to God. We're going to begin in the few weeks that follow to look at these arguments for God's existence, and I'm going to be taking you through a couple of them. We'll start out today with a Kalam Cosmological argument. This argument is an argument from the presence of the universe to lead us all the way back to God and to say that God exists, and we can know that from the fact that the universe exists. Part of the important things to note is that these arguments do not necessarily bring you to the idea of a Christian God. They are sort of a first layer argument to show you that it is logical, it is rational to believe in the existence of God. You're going to have to bring another layer of arguments after these arguments to show that Christianity is true and that the Christian concept of God is true. So that these arguments are a first layer argument to tell you that God exists, but we can put something on top of that. So we can usually look at the resurrection of Jesus and the evidence from the New Testament on top of these arguments to show that Christianity is true and that Christianity is the only way to God. But in these videos, I'm going to be running you through these arguments for God's existence. There are a whole number of them, but we're not going to do so much. We'll just look at 4 of them as we explore the subject. As we go on, do well to like this video, comment, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe to this channel because you're going to be having a lot of amazing content coming your way. The Bible teaches us that it is possible to know stuff about God, to have information about God, by just examining creation, by examining the universe. In Psalm 19 from verse 1 to 3, the Bible says that the heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament shows his handiwork, day unto day utters speech, and night unto night shows knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. In Romans chapter 1 verse 20, the Bible also reveals that the invisible attributes of God, his eternal power and his Godhead, can be observed, can be noticed if you observe creation. So the Bible actually does teach us that if you are observant in your interaction with the universe, with creation, it can actually point you towards the existence of God. And this is basically what the Kalam Cosmological argument is about. So, the Kalam Cosmological argument was made popular by Dr. William Lane Craig recently, and it was taken from an Islamic scholar. It was an Islamic scholar that actually put it out in the first place. But it has been worked on, it has been reviewed by Dr. Craig and many other philosophers. And this is a very easy way to remember the argument. The first premise says that whatsoever begins to exist has a cause. The second premise says that the universe began to exist, and the conclusion says, therefore, the universe has a cause. Whatsoever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore, the universe has a cause. It's simple, right? If it is true that whatsoever begins to exist has a cause, and we can prove that the universe began to exist, we can prove that the universe has a cause. Now, is it true that whatsoever begins to exist has a cause? Well, it is self-evident. Everything that starts existing because something made it to start existing. Things do not just pop out of nothing, you know. Even with magic, when someone pulls a rabbit out of a hat, the hat was there, the magician was there. The rabbit did not come out of nothing. You cannot have something come out of nothing. So that premise is pretty straightforward, that something always comes out of something. You cannot have something that comes out of nothing. Now, moving on to the second premise, the universe began to exist. For a long time, scientists and atheists always believed that the universe was eternal. It meant that the universe did not have a beginning. But recently, we know that that's not true. We have scientific evidence to show that that's not true. We have philosophical evidence to show that that's not true. Scientifically speaking, there are a couple of reasons why we think that the universe began. What we know as the Big Bang has been accepted as the scientific consensus to the origin of the universe. And there are a couple of scientific lines of evidence that point us towards that direction. Number one, the second law of thermodynamics says that the universe is running out of usable energy. Because of the law of entropy, everything tends towards a state of disorderliness. We know that the universe is running out of usable energy. Also, in 1929, Edwin Hubble, who was a scientist, found out that the universe is expanding. The universe is expanding. If the universe is expanding, it means that it began from a certain point, right? If the universe is expanding, it means that it began from a certain point. And if it is true that the second law of thermodynamics, which speaks about entropy, is true, then it means that the universe is tending towards disorderliness, and it means that the universe has been expanding since it was created, or since it began to exist. When Albert Einstein propounded his theory of general relativity, one of the things that came out of that theory was that space, time, and matter were all correlative, so they all had to come into being at the same time. You couldn't have one without the other. It was either they all came into being at the same time, or they didn't come into being at all. You can see that we have scientific evidence to show that the universe began to exist. If the universe has been eternal, it would mean that it has been expanding throughout its history. And if the law of entropy is true, the universe should have run out of usable energy. But the universe has not run out of usable energy. This points us very clearly to the fact that the universe began to exist. The scientific consensus is that the Big Bang is true. The universe began to exist, and we don't have any reasons to think that the universe is eternal. Now, philosophically speaking, we cannot have an infinite regress of causes. What that means is that if there was a first cause, there would have to be a next cause, and a next cause, and a next cause. If you're tracing it backward, you're eventually going to have to get back to the first cause. With the universe, we have to have a first cause. We cannot have an infinite amount of causes in the past. We have to have a first cause, so that philosophically speaking, we also have evidence to show that the universe began to exist. So it is true that whatever begins to exist has a cause. It is true that the universe began to exist. We believe in the Big Bang. The question is, who banged the Big Bang? Who was the banger behind the bang? What caused the Big Bang to happen? What was the cause that led to the effect that the Big Bang is? That's the question that we need to answer as we ponder upon the conclusion that the universe has a cause. When we say the universe, we mean all of space, all of time, and all of matter. If the universe has a cause, it would mean that something must have caused the universe to begin to exist. And if that thing would have caused the universe to begin to exist, then very clearly that thing could not have been inside the universe. It has to be outside the universe. You cannot be looking for the builder of the house in the walls of the house. The universe would have to be an offshoot of the activity of something or someone that is outside the universe. So whatever caused the universe must be spaceless, must be timeless, must be immaterial, must be extremely powerful, and must have a mind. Of course, has to be spaceless because space is involved in the universe. Of course, has to be timeless because time is involved in the universe. Of course, has to be immaterial because the universe has matter. Of course, has to be extremely powerful because there was a lot of energy that went into the Big Bang for the Big Bang to happen. The cause of the universe has to have a mind. This is perhaps the most tricky part of it, but it's very easy to follow. So, the cause of the universe has a mind. Why do we say it has a mind? Because the cause of the universe caused the universe to begin to exist at some point. Now, I'm using at some point because here English begins to fail because there was no time before the Big Bang. But the point would be that there was a specific point at which this cause of the universe decided to bring the universe into being. If the cause of the universe did not have a mind, then the effect would be as old as the cause. Again, terminologies fail. But the effect would be as old as the cause. It would mean that the universe is eternal. But because we know that the universe is not eternal, that shows us that the universe was caused to exist at some point. So you have a cause that brings in an effect when he wants, right? If I throw up a ball, the ball is going to come down irrespective of what I think about it. But I have to throw up the ball. So if I decide to throw up the ball, I am actually doing something because I want to do it. My mind is involved. And when we say that the cause of the universe has to have a mind, what we are saying is that because the effect is not eternal, it meant that the effect came into being as a result of the decision of the cause. And that implies a mind. So we have a spaceless, timeless, immaterial, extremely powerful mind. This is the being we called God. Who caused the universe to exist? God did. See you next week.